Hi everybody, it's Karen here from tuppenscolour.co.uk, and thank you very much for joining me for the latest in my Halloween projects for this year. And I do look forward to Halloween every year. I do love it. I have lots and lots of fun at Halloween. So this is the card that I'm making today, and on the front of the card it just says trick or treat. And when you open it up, well, it's not so much a trick, but it is a surprise because boo pops up at you. It's a very easy pop-up mechanism. Stay with me, I'll show you how to make it. I'm using Blackberry Bliss for my card base today. So I've cut a piece that is 8 inches by 5 3/4, and I've scored it at 4 inches and folded it in half to make my card base. I have another piece of Blackberry Bliss. This is going to be my pop-up, and this is 5.5 inches by 4.5 inches. I've got a few pieces of the Toil and Trouble DSP, and this is actually the same pattern. I'm just using the 2 different sides, and I've cut 3 pieces that are all 3 3/4 by 5.5. I'm going to use my Spooky Sweets stamps, and I've got Grey Granite and Memento inks. I have my large letters Thinlits. I haven't got them all here. I'm just going to use the O, the exclamation mark, and the B to spell boo. And I have some scraps of card. So I've got some Granny Apple Green, So Saffron. I've got another little bit of Blackberry Bliss, and some Gorgeous Grape, some Basic Black, and some Pumpkin Pie. Don't know if I'm going to use all of them, but I might. And I'm also using quite a few of my punches. So I have my 2 1/4 inch circle and my 2 inch circle, my Starburst punch, and my Spooky Bats. I may use the cat as well, but if I need it, I'll go and get it out later. So those are the things that I expect I'm going to be using for my card today. This piece of Blackberry Bliss is going to be what pops up when the card is open. So I'm going to score it at 2 3/4 inch, and I'm going to score it at 1/2 inch. Now I can put my scoring board away. A little bit of sharpening of those folds. And yeah, see, I thought that was 5 3/4 inch. I'll have to trim that down in just a moment. So I'm just going to actually cut that away at quite a sharp angle. And I'm going to go and trim this to the right size, and I shall be right back to do the next part. Been over to my Big Shot, and I've cut the word boo in Granny Apple Green, and I've come in with my Granite Grey ink and my sponge dauber, and I've just given it a little bit of a sponge, and I've also cut a 2 inch circle of So Saffron. I couldn't think what it was called for a minute, and again I've just been given that one a bit of sponging. Now this is going to be the bit that pops up when the card is open, and I've done a little bit of trial and error beforehand, and I know that as long as I keep within the border of this card, you won't be able to see it when the main card is closed. So I've done a little bit of trial and error, and it was a little bit of guesswork, but I think I've cracked it. Okay, so that's going to be my Halloween moon. I did think about stamping it, but I'm not going to. So I want the word boo. I don't want the dies to go down the fold down the middle of the card, so I'm arranging things so that they keep clear of that. And I think I like that arrangement, so I'm going to start with me liquid adhesive, And I'm just going to start sticking things down. And I'm going to trim that corner so that it follows the curve of the moon. And I'm trying to decide whether to follow the shape of the letters here. What do you think? Yeah, why not? So I'm just and just because it's Halloween, I'm going to have a few bats in here as well. Done a bit more trimming around the moon and around the letters, and I've put tear and tape along these edges here at the bottom of the piece. Now I want to point out that this angle here is greater than 90 degrees. If I show you on my ruler, I'll move that up the way so you can maybe see a bit better. You see that is not a right angle, is it? Alright, so I think that's about, so it's about what, 90, it's about 120 degrees, something like that. And that it is important that it needs to be greater than a right angle. Save a bit of time, I've gone ahead and I've covered my base card with my DSP. And from the top edge, I've marked in about an inch, okay? Now, I've already got the tear and tape on the base of the card, and I'm going to release some of it, not all of it, because I may need to do some fine adjustments here. Alright, and if you're going to make a card like this and you've never made one before, I do suggest that you do some dry runs on some scrap paper, some scrap card, because that's what I did. Alright, because it's actually quite mathematical. So I'm going to line up my centre seam with that mark that I've made, and I'm going to bend back my flat. Now before I go anywhere, I'm just going to check that that mechanism works. And it does, so I'm happy with that. So now I'm going to take away the rest of the backing paper on my tape, and that is my Boo pop-up card. So I'm going to leave that to for the glue to dry while I go and work on the embellishment I'm going to put on the front of the card. This stamp says no tricks, just treats, and I want a stamp that says trick or treat. So I'm going to mask off most of the stamp. I've covered up the bottom part of the stamp, and now I'm just trimming a little bit of post-it note. So I've covered up the top of the stamp, and I'm just going to trim away a little bit of my post-it note to mark off the S on tricks. And it is a little bit fiddly, won't lie to you, but with a little bit of perseverance and making sure that I'm using the bit of post-it note that has actually got sticky on. There we go, I'm happy with that. So I'm just going to ink that up with my Memento ink. And that's well covered. I'm going to take away the post-it paper and press down, and I've got the word trick stamped. And now I'm going to do the same thing, but this time I'm going to mask off the top part of the stamp and the letter S in Tricks. Just trimming myself a tiny bit of post-it paper there, making sure that that's not going to come adrift when I'm stamping. And it is, you know, a little bit of fussy work, but we'll get there. And in with the Memento ink. Cover up the bit I've stamped because I don't want to blot it. And now I've got Trick and Treat. And to finish it off, I've got my my journaling pen. This is the 0.5 millimeter one, and I'm just going to write the word "or" in the space between Trick and Treat, and add a question mark after the word treat, and I am done. So I punched that out with the 2-inch circle, and I've sponged around the edge with some grey granite, and now I'm going to punch out a starburst of the Gorgeous Grape and a 2¼ inch circle. Where's my 2¼ inch circle punch gone? There it is, hiding underneath the card in Pumpkin Pie. And I have really challenged myself this year with my Halloween colours, because I usually stick to the traditional, for me, orange and black. So it's usually Pumpkin Pie and Basic Black and not a lot else. But this year I've kind of pushed the boat out and added in the Granny Apple Green and the Gorgeous Grape, which of course are new colours to this year, so we haven't had them to play with before. Oops. Good job that landed on my little silicone mat, because that's going to be easy to clean up. Alright, so now that's not totally finished, so that's going to go onto the front of my card like that. So let's pop that on there where I want it. As you can see, I've got some more bats die cut out there that I'm going to decorate things with, and I've also got some pieces that I fussy cut out of some of the Toil and Trouble paper. So I've got pumpkin, and I've got a witch's hat. Okay, so I think I'll go with the hat and a couple of bats. Do I want that hat, or do I want a different hat? Do you know what? I think this one here is just the job, and yeah, I'm going to sponge it. Just going to take that white outline just down a little bit, and I just fussy cut these out. I mean, I did them for the other project that I did, which was the treat pouches, which I posted the other day. But while I was sitting there, do you know what? I'll just do the half sheet of paper. I was just sitting there in front of the TV and just cut them out while I was watching Strictly. I do love Strictly Come Dancing. I wonder if Stampin' Up will ever do some ballroom dancing stamps and dies. That would be lovely. Perhaps I need to suggest that. What do you think? Okay, so let's have some bats, because, you know, can't have too many bats. Well, I don't think you can have too many bats anyway, can you? Not at Halloween, you know. You have to have bats. I was once on a ghost hunt, and I do go on ghost hunts every now and again. Yeah, and we were once on a ghost hunt, and we were in this darkened room in an old castle, and one of the women who was with us suddenly gave this blood-curdling scream, and if you had anything like it, and we all startled, and we all sort of were stampeding out the door, but she'd screamed because she'd seen a bat. So Whenever I see bats, I think of that. Okay, so that's the front pretty much done. So let's put some finishing touches onto the inside. So here's one of the pumpkins that I fussed out, and I'm just going to ink up the message. It says Happy Halloween, and I'm just going to stamp that right into the middle of the pumpkin. Near enough, not going to be too fussy about it. That works well for me. Okay, so let me bring back my card. And so that's going to be my message around about there. So let's just have a couple of pumpkins here, just to set it off. So there's one, and there's another one, and then this one. Okay, so there's the message, and I'm just wondering, what do you think? Shall we do it? Let's do it. So let's have a little bit of the liquid adhesive onto the back of the witch's hat, just like that, on top of the middle O. And just check that, yeah, that'll all be hidden when the card is closed, and then that'll pop up, and yeah, I'm calling that complete. And there it is. There is my my pop-up card. Now, one thing I do want to say before I go, and that is that the bigger the pop-up piece that you've got, the nearer to the top or lower edge, if you kind of want it to come up the other way around, it needs to be, because when you close the card, it all needs to tuck away without anything popping out outside. So you know, do practice a bit on a bit of something that you don't really care about, you know, making a mess of. But that is it for today. I do thank you very, very much for joining me. Would love it if you came back and saw me again sometime soon. But for now, thank you for staying to the end of the video, and I'll see you again soon. Bye bye.